Hi there, it's Monday, and we get into the first full week of Lent 2019. Take two with Jerry and Debbie underway here on EWTN Radio. I am Jerry Usher along with Debbie Georgiani. Debbie was not with us on Friday. She is back today. Debbie, it's good to have you back.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was a good weekend, but I'm glad to be back. I missed you guys on Friday. Heard it was a great show, so that's wonderful. And and now we're tackling some new issues this week, Jerry, which I'm looking forward to hear what our listeners have to say.
Yeah, in fact, here's the topic for discussion today. And if you are a mom or a dad, you're definitely going to want to weigh in. If you had parents, then you know what it's like to be raised. We all had parents, of course. And if you're raising your own kids right now or already have, we would like you to weigh in on your preferred method of disciplining your kids. And Dr. Ray Guarendi is the parenting expert. He comes on after us. Debbie and I are not experts in this. So what we always like to do on this show is really learn from you and your wisdom. So as Christian parents raising kids, how do you feel is the best way to go about raising them? Do you just give them timeouts? Do you take away privileges? Do you make them do chores? Do you spank occasionally? This is what we want to know because, Debbie, we know the Bible is very clear and human nature is, I think, even more clear that without discipline, kids are not going to turn out as well as they could.
Well, that intent to teach, is very important. And as parents, we are called to do that. And, Jerry, you were correct. I mean, we're not experts in the field of psychology and stuff like that on parenting, but I did raise two kids. So from life experience, you're in it every single day, raising your children. It goes very fast. And discipline is an interesting component of parenting that, you can read books on it. You can go to counseling. You can hear other people's stories. But when you're in the midst of it, you kind of develop it as you go along with the personalities of your children. So tell us how it has worked for you. Some of you guys that listen, you have big families, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 kids. Okay. Do you discipline each child the same way? Is it just standard? Is it very, very consistent, which a lot of parenting experts say, yeah, you got to be very consistent. Do you hold them accountable for things? Do you teach? Do you really go out of your way to make it a teaching moment when the time is right? Do you stay very much in control of your emotions? Because that's another thing too. When you're disciplining, it can easily escalate to out of control punishment. And that is just not cool. It's not, and it really can hurt the children emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually. So let's talk about all the different angles of discipline with your children. 833-288-3986. That's the number to call to be on the show. We really learn from you. Jerry, did I capture that correctly? Because I think you put this on the calendar.
Yeah, I think so. And again, it's the situation here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie is you are the ones who really are kind of the experts on the topics that we put out there. And you're the parents, you're the ones raising kids right now, or like I said earlier, maybe you have completed that task in your life already. So here's the number, 833-288-EWTN or 833-288-3986. Are you the type of parent who maybe you take a time out, when you see that you have a child who is misbehaving, doing something you told them not to do or not doing what you told them to do or what have you. Maybe you take, 10, 15 seconds. Maybe you step out of the room for a minute and just say, you know what, Lord, do you pray before you discipline your kids? Because the word discipline comes from the word disciple, which means to learn. So as Debbie, you pointed out, there's a fine line between disciplining and, quote, punishing and, of course, even abusing our kids, So it's so very important that we do this with patience, gentleness, even humility and love. So we want to hear how you do this as parents.
And we'll also be sharing, too, what the Catechism of the Catholic Church says about parenting and discipline and how children should behave. And there's a few paragraphs on it, and I think they can be helpful throughout this discussion. But we want want to hear from you. 1-833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. We're not asking you to out yourself, okay? We're not gonna, if you share, well, I've lost my cool a few times, that's not the purpose of this discussion. The purpose of this discussion is we all walk away being better parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles and stuff like that. And so we can understand better what everybody else is living through so that we can learn from. And I think that's important, Jerry. I just wanted to state that because some people, parenting is a very funny thing. It's very personal. Everybody's got their own different family dynamics and family rules. And some people don't like to share that publicly because, you have to explain yourself. You have to say, well, you have to understand my situation. Well, that's not what this discussion is about, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, I like the way you said it's very personal. It's very unique. And actually, too, everyone is going to parent to a certain extent based on your own experience as a child growing up. So I'd love to hear from anybody who says, you know what, there was a lot of corporal punishment in my family, and when I became a parent, I decided I wasn't going to do that. Or I think that was helpful for me, so I do choose, spanking once in a while. I've heard Dr. Ray, he certainly is not, in essence, opposed to spanking, but he, like everybody else, we want to be careful. We want to be careful, and, the Bible does say, spare the rod, spoil the child, but what does the rod mean? The rod doesn't have to mean, laying your hands on your child or necessarily, physical or any kind of corporal punishment. There's a lot of ways to get through to kids today, Debbie, especially now that they're all carrying, cell phones and they've got their friends and their peers and their activities. And I remember, grounding. Grounding was another way of being disciplined when I was growing up. All of the kids wanted to go out and our friends and go run around the neighborhood and play or go to a movie or something. And there came a time when it was like, Jerry, this time you have to stay home,
Yeah.
And you learn in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. Well, grounding was big in my day and age too. But then there was the people like us who would try to, get around that, sneak out of the house and stuff. So that wasn't cool either. For me, Jerry, when I was raising the kids, it was time out. Time out was a big thing. Consistency. I think consistency was a really huge, element that needed to be adhered to, because that's the thing, you see these beautiful little faces and they look at you and they have that little downward smile or a couple tears come down their cheek and you're like, oh, okay, it's okay. Just forget it. Let's just forget it.
Well, that's another thing too. I would love to hear from people who say, you know what, they see those looks on their kids' faces and they know they still have to do something to make sure that the child learns from the experience. So how do you fight through that melted heart that you have, and still apply some sort of discipline in the appropriate circumstances? That's what we're talking about on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Join us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We're talking about what's your preferred method of disciplining your children today on the show, and we hope that we walk away a little bit changed, have some good maybe skills and tools that we can start implementing in our homes, and that would be a great thing. But just wanted to highlight real quickly, because you know how if you've listened to this show on a regular basis, you know how I love this show, The Journey Home with Marcus Grodi, tonight 8 Eastern Time. Mother Serafina Marie is a Catholic revert, and that's what they're going to be discussing, her journey back home to the church and to the family. I love Marcus Grodi. I just love his gentle spirit. I love the way he conducts the kind of the interview, if you will, or the life story, and it's just wonderful. So 8 Eastern Time, folks. Okay, Jerry, I'm ready. I got my notebook out. I want to learn today.
All right. What is your preferred method of disciplining your kids, teaching them life lessons? 833-288-3986 is the phone number to get on board on the program here. Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We do have a line open. You get right in there. Okay, we are going to start with Nidra in Fort Worth, Texas, listening on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Nidra. Welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, first of all, I'm a single mom with 6 children, and probably the biggest thing that I would tell you about disciplining is that you have to make sure that everything comes from a place of love. We have to remember that we've made the choice to become parents, and that's our job. That is one of the most important jobs that we have in life, because they are our future. And so being that I had 6 children, the discipline for the children, it varies. You cannot use the same thing across the board. 9 times out of 10, it's not going to work. I can tell you every single one of my children are very different. I even have a set of twins, and even those 2 girls are very different from each other. And so what I can do for one, I cannot do for the other. But the biggest thing that I try to do in disciplining, and I'm not always successful, but I try to make sure that I'm coming from a place of love, so that whatever I am saying to them or doing with them or trying to teach them about whatever's going on, I make sure that they know it's because I love them and I want them to be the best person that they can be, and that I want them to learn how to treat others too. And hopefully in treating them and having it come from a place of love, that they will be able to pass that love on in their experiences with people from day to day, even just their interpersonal relationships with friends and everything.
Wow, Nedra, that is awesome. Okay, so first of all, I was taking notes so quickly, but I wanted to just share something, because as you were talking about your parenting style, your discipline style, and how you said it's individual for each child. First of all, I wanted to say, you being a single mom of 6 children, way to go. I mean, that is amazing. You're an incredible woman and an incredible mother. That's a gigantic family, and that is a beautiful thing. And the way you're setting the stage for their future, I think is a great recipe for holiness. You know, you're coming from love. You want them to be loved. God is love. Well, and it reminded me of what Jerry had mentioned earlier before we started the show about, citing what the Catechism had to say, the Catechism of the Catholic Church. And, one of the things that jumped out on me, paragraph 2227 talks about children. It talks about their children's role. Children in turn contribute to the growth and holiness of their parents. And so it just seems to me that when you're teaching and parenting from this place of love, you're training your children in love. I mean, obviously you must be receiving a lot of love back. So then again, that fosters your growth and holiness. It's a beautiful, cyclical, recipe for the family holiness as together. I don't know do you find that? Do your children, because they are exhibiting what you're teaching them, it's coming back to you, and it's just making you a better and better parent?
Yes. I find my children to be much more loving than a lot of kids their ages, and I don't know. I don't know what other people do a lot of the time, but I do see their love. I also notice that they're also very, very forgiving, and they have a lot of love to give, and not just to me, but to others. Like I see them doing that to other people, and that helps me to grow because of how I see them interact with other people. That's when I actually get to see what effect I've had on them. And, and like I said, I'm not always successful at it. And there are times that I know that I have flat out blown it. I've blown it. And I have to go back to them and tell them I'm sorry. And then in those cases, that's when I feel their love and forgiveness towards me. And that is powerful. That is very powerful for me.
Wow. It is. And I'm just going to get back to what you said and Debbie commented on, is disciplining out of a place of love. Kids know that. Kids just, I think, instinctively know that. And they know when a parent is just simply reacting out of the parent's anger, like you've bothered me, I'm really upset, I'm angry. That is not coming out of a place of love. And the kids, I think they realize that because we know, I think we intrinsically know that when we are disciplined, it's for our good. And another big fruit of all of this, Nedra, that you're talking about that I think your kids are really going to benefit from is they're going to grow up and become adults who really have a very healthy self-worth, self-esteem, knowing who they are, rather than, when discipline becomes, say, a punishment or abusive in a parental child situation, then the child starts to feel like, well, I'm a bad person, or I'm not worth anything, or something like this because mommy or daddy he's treating me this way. But when discipline is administered the way you are, it sounds like to me anyway. We're not experts, but it sounds like the kids, like you said, they're going to return that love for you. They're going to know who they are, made in the image and likeness of God, and then they in turn are going to love others outside of themselves as well. So, yeah, Debbie, you use the word recipe. I think it's a great recipe for seeing them become very, very very well-adjusted adults and great contributors to our church and world.
I totally agree. But, as Jerry was talking, Nedra, I'm looking down the catechism, and you are following the catechism, to the letter. I'm just curious, did you read the catechism before you became a parent? Because it's amazing how you are actually implementing really down to the finest of details. I'm just curious. Did you read it?
I did not. Actually, I never read the catechism until I subscribed to an email, the catechism in a year,
right.
catechism in a year. That was only about 3 or 4 years ago. 4 years ago that I subscribed to that. That was the first time I actually went through the catechism. And when I first read about that, where I learned this from is from people that have been in my life. I was raised Catholic, and my mom was a single parent. And in all honesty, I was raised very not in the best of situations, but I believe God put some very pertinent people in my life, some very, very positive female role models. And being that my dad was absent for a very big portion of my life, God also put some very pertinent priests in my life as very loving and just encouraging male role models for me. And then as I grew, I don't know, I just kind of would pick and choose the things that I would see and say, that's how I would want to be treated, or that's how I would do things if I were a parent. And so I tried to implement those things when I became a parent. And you're very right about the abusiveness, because I've been in that situation where the other parent was abusive to my children, and I saw the deterioration of everything that I had worked for with them. I saw how it affected them and how it was slowly breaking down their self-esteem, breaking them down, even to the point of having one of my children literally not want to live anymore. So now that I'm not in that situation, I've been trying to get back to, just fulfilling them and pushing that love on them and to give them back some of that confidence that they lost and to show them that that's not what life is. That's not who a father is, and one of the things that I did for my two youngest children, because they actually did not have a father in their lives for the first, for about 5 years of their life. And during those 5 years, whenever they would ask me about a daddy or a father, I literally went to God and talked to them about God, our Father, and who he is and what he does. And even though that they can't see him, that he is there every day watching over them, loving them, sending people to them to help make their lives better, to help make our lives better, because that's who I believe God is.
Yes. Beautifully put, Nedra. Beautifully put. And I think a lot of bases, a lot of ground has been covered in this call. And I like Debbie said, you're following how the church lays it out. Again, there's no exact right or wrong. There's no one size fits all. But it sounds like out of a great place of love. You sound like a loving mom, Nedra. You really do. And your kids, hopefully, God willing, we're going to keep them all in our prayers. And you're doing a great job. That's all we can say in closing. I think you're doing a fantastic job. And please keep us in your prayers, if you will. And I know that you join us in praying for all parents, that they would just do the loving right thing for their children in disciplining them appropriately and in a healthy way so that they know who they are. They love themselves. We're called to love our neighbor as ourselves. Well, as we're growing up, and discipline is part of that, that's how we learn that self-love and how to love others. So thank you, Nedra, for your call. We appreciate that.
Yes, thank you so much. That was amazing. That you got our home run award. It's a virtual award to you, Nedra. Thank you so much. That is incredible. I learned so much. I hope others that were listening, I hope they replay this several times. Okay. Sorry, I just had to say that.
Okay, we got a couple of Marys on the line. The first one is in Fort Collins, Colorado, listening to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on Catholic Radio Network. Hi, Mary in Fort Collins.
Hi, how are you?
Doing okay, Mary. How about you?
Oh, good. I'm doing great. So what really helped me, because I was a single mom, too, and through a divorce, and it was very difficult because I was had to be the good cop and the bad cop. And so a counselor said, you've got to somehow, work with your ex-husband on who's going to be the good cop and the bad cop. And so I used love and logic too as well, so that I didn't become the enemy all the time. In love and logic, it's all about empathy, having empathy for your child who is going through a difficult time and who is doing something wrong, and feeling sorry for them that they have to experience the consequences of their actions. So to give them consequences, but to have empathy for them because they made the wrong decision. And that helps so much with my relationship with my daughter, is to realize that I wasn't the bad guy. And then as far as the good cop, bad cop goes, I try to make God or Jesus or the Blessed Mother the good cop. So, you don't have to go through this yourself. I know you feel angry at me, so ask Jesus to walk through this with you. And I'm doing that with my granddaughter. I wasn't in the faith at the time, but I'm now using that with her. And sometimes we pray together. And so what's really helped to me is finding a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, who always helps me through anything. And my job as a mother or a grandmother now is to try to instill a personal relationship with my granddaughter in Jesus, so that she knows that Jesus is always there and is always with her and is always helping her. And it's her relationship with Jesus and the Blessed Mother is so beautiful, because she really knows them. She can't wait to go to heaven to meet them. I mean, so it's like, just like we're always, or John the Baptist pointed to Jesus and the Blessed Mother points to Jesus, we too, or I need to point to Jesus as not the only one that she has, that wherever she goes, she's got Jesus with her, and she's got the Blessed Mother. So that's really helped us because we can, so she's got her good cop always with her,
Wow.
when I have to be the bad cop,
Okay.
when I have for
Yeah.
consequence or, then it's like she's got a good cop.
So Mary, okay, so look how God works. Look how the Holy Spirit works. Okay, I just shared that everybody should download this broadcast and replay it because the home run of Nedra, of her story, absolutely. And then you come in right as at the second call and you finish it up so beautifully with some other elements that we can all learn from. You hear that music, Mary, if you can hang on with us, I have something to say because what you said was so powerful about not putting this as the bad cop, if you will, as Jesus and Mary, and how to establish the relationship with Jesus. It's very powerful. I want everyone to listen to this. This is key. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We'll be right back with Mary from Fort Collins, Colorado. We are having a powerful discussion today on the preferred methods of disciplining your children. So please, if you'd like to get in on this great conversation, call in now at 1-833-288-3986. And we're talking to Mary in Fort Collins, Colorado. She's listening on Catholic Radio Network. And another home run to you, Mary. So you get to share the virtual home run award with Nedra. But I just have to say, being in religious education for over 25 years, I cannot even begin to tell you how many times, and I get so emotional when I say this, how many times I've seen children from third grade all the way up to seniors in high school, and they will have such an unhealthy relationship and fear of God because somewhere in their growing up experience, somebody put it in their head that everything they're doing wrong and everything the mistakes they're making, God is not going to be pleased with you, and God is not going to, you got to somehow win over God's love in this really monumental way that kids can't grasp. They don't understand it. So what they do is they start to push God very far away from their circle of trust. They push Mary. They don't even know where to sometimes put Mary. And I just wanted to say, Mary, what you did with your children and now your grandchildren, I think you said, it's beautiful because you are telling them, rely on Jesus and Mary, build your relationship with Jesus and Mary, lean on them, go to them. That is so key for the children to have a healthy relationship with God, obviously with the Trinity, with Jesus, with the Holy Spirit, and with the Blessed Mother. I just wanted to say thank you for sharing that today publicly with the world, because we need to hear more of that. These children don't know how to put God in their life. Is that where you got that from, Mary? You didn't want that to happen to your children or grandchildren.
Yeah, I mean, I want them to have what I didn't have. And one thing Father said at the retreat this weekend, which really was helpful, he said, tell your children, it's not like God's the good cop, but he will always walk with them through it. So not that they will solve every problem, but that you are never alone, and God will walk through this with you. He won't necessarily take it away, but he'll be with you, and he'll walk with you. And the same thing with us. Or me, when I'm going through something, it's like I just need to realize that he's walking with me. He's right there with me, loving me no matter how much I screw up. And to give that child or that adult that idea that I am loved no matter what, no matter how much I screw up, I am loved. And for them just to know that the power of God's love and that his love is unconditional, but nobody else's is. It's like... And for me to learn that to depend on another person, or this priest is from Poland, so he always goes, I said, I don't trust my daughter. And she goes, oh, why would you trust your daughter? You can't trust anybody but God. It's like, it's just so cute. It's like, oh, yeah, God's the one I need to trust. Because everybody else is fallible. Everybody else is human. Everybody else is going to make a mistake, and then they can't always be there for me and do what I need him to do at any given time. But God is trustworthy. And if I can give that to my granddaughter, and if I could have given that to my daughter, but I was outside the faith, and now she's completely closed to it. So all I can do is try to instill that in my grandchildren.
Yeah. Well, Mary, it sounds like you got a great, understanding of this, great grasp on this. And, you mentioned something earlier in your call. You talked about when we're disciplining our kids, they may be angry for a moment. But, I don't know. I mean, sometimes, I go back to Scripture a lot. And in Hebrews chapter 12, it's that beautiful, beautiful chapter about how God disciplines those that he loves. And, it says in verse 7, it is for discipline that you have to endure. God is treating you as sons. For what son is there whom his father does not discipline? If you are left without discipline, in which all have participated, then you are illegitimate children and not sons. And it goes on to say in verse 11, for the moment, all discipline seems painful rather than pleasant. Later it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained in it. So as you're talking, and our other callers here, Mary, it's such an important thing that discipline be properly and lovingly administered, so that then later that peaceful fruit of righteousness. I mean, there's nothing more precious in life than that, I don't think.
Well, not just love, but empathy, to feel sorry for them for the choices they made, to put ourselves on the same side of the fence as they are. I'm so sorry you made that decision, because now I have to, take away your privileges. And I hope next time you make the right one. But it just changed the whole dynamic of this power play. Now it's like, these are the rules, and I'm sorry you broke them,
And
that's how God is.
This is going to hurt me a lot more than it's going to hurt you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, kind of.
Right, yeah.
I'm really sorry. Like one time she did something, and then I'm so sorry you did that, because we were going to have so much fun. We were going to go to the movie, and now we can't do that. And she came out of her room about half hour later. She goes, I don't know why I'm so stubborn. Because she just thought, then she started seeing what she was doing.
The consequences of it.
And the goal of love and logic is to get your kids to do the thinking, not to think for them, but to get them to do the thinking. And so that they start taking responsibility for their actions, instead of just playing this power game and this game of when I'm good, I get something good, and when I'm bad, you know what I mean? It's
Right. Well, the consequences, there's good consequences and there's bad consequences based on our choices, but that's the beauty of what God allows us to do with our free will. And I think we have in this world, we have a fear of discipline. When you look at this world, it's let me do my own thing. The priest this Sunday, excuse me, the priest this Sunday in the homily, he talked about a lot of people at funerals want to play the Frank Sinatra song, I Did It My Way. And he said, I'm not going to play that at funerals. It's not my way. It's his way. It's his will. It's his way. It should be God's way. And it's so true. We live in a world where everybody's saying, let me just do it my way. Well, there's consequences to that. And I think it's important to share that, Jerry. Go ahead. I'm losing my voice.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Mary, any last thoughts from you before we let you go?
No, that's it. Thank you so much for doing the show. And I think this is great because there are ways to make it easier and to do it, make it easier on us. I went to that Love and Logic class because I wanted it to be easier for me, and it was. It became easier for me as a parent, to do it the right way. So we need to learn how to parent the right way.
Yeah. Good stuff, Mary. Thank you. Thank you so very much for your call. And that's a great lesson for parents. Disciplining kids doesn't have to be exhausting to you. It doesn't have to wear you out. It doesn't have to sap all of your energy. It doesn't have to leave you feeling bad or feeling guilty or anything. If you love your kids, you want to do what's right for them. And that is what all parents try and do. There's no manual that comes with parenting. And as other parents, as other callers have said, Debbie, the mistakes are made. I mean, mistakes are going to be made, but as long as the intention and the heart are in the right place, God can provide. God's grace can provide, I believe.
Right.
So.
And I would just encourage folks, please check out the Catechism of the Catholic Church. It's under the duties of family members based around the Fourth Commandment. It starts with paragraph 2214 and it goes down. It's very interesting. It really lays out all the elements of what the privileges and the responsibilities of parents are, and for the children as well, what their role is as well. It's really beautiful. Jerry, I can't say it enough. We all need to have a catechism, I think, on the coffee table, and it would be helpful to all of us. I know it's easy to go to your keyboard and just look it up online. I get that, but if you're sitting there around the family table or something, and you can open it up and just read it, there's something about that. I think it takes on a whole different feel.
All right, talking today about your preferred method of discipline for your kids, 833-288-3986. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. And our other Mary is in Lafayette, Louisiana, listening on Christ Our King Radio. Hi, Mary. Thanks for your great patience there. You get our Patience Award today. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for taking my call, and good morning.
Good morning.
I'm a grandmother, and I taught moral theology. And one of the great blessings of our faith is that this plan of disciplining is already contained in tradition and in Scripture. And it has to do with the cardinal virtues. And I'm looking at Wisdom, chapter 8, verses 7, where it says, nothing can be more profitable in life than to teach character, temperance, prudence, and fortitude. And I have a 4-year-old grandson, and I try to teach him temperance by saying, let's think about what we're doing. And fortitude, you can do this, and I will help you. And so it's a character-building tool that's already in our faith, and I feel so blessed that the cardinal virtues are a part of it. And I would recommend that parents embrace the teaching of character through the cardinal virtues at a very young age and simply change the vocabulary so the children can understand what prudence and fortitude and temperance and justice are.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautifully put, Mary. And those four virtues that you just mentioned, prudence, justice, fortitude, and temperance, they are part of our lives until we take our last breath, or they should be anyway. So great suggestion to teach these and instill these into kids when they're very, very young. And I like the way you talked about how when a child is able to reason, helping them understand the need for the discipline that's being administered. And what I mean by that is, if I have this right, I'm not a Thomistic philosopher or theologian or anything, but I remember somebody was hearing at one time, I studied philosophy in college, and I think it was St. Thomas Aquinas who said the weakest of all arguments, when someone asks, why is something the way it is, like a church teaching or something, I think he says that the weakest argument is just because. Just because, the church says so or because God says so. That's not a bad reason. But what he says is that we need to, the better reasons are to help people understand the why and the reasons for the different reasons that make up why there is a certain teaching or why in your case or why in a parent's case discipline is being administered. Not that parents have to sit down and say, honey, come here, let me explain this to you. Because, like I said, not all kids are at the age where they're able to reason that. And it doesn't always call for that. Parents don't owe a child, this 15-minute dissertation about why they're, not being allowed to go to the movie or whatever. But Debbie, I do love what Mary is saying is at least when it's appropriate and the kids can understand it, helping them understand the why of what's being done so that helps them learn a broader lesson, I think.
A broader lesson, exactly. And Mary, would you agree with this? Because you said you teach moral theology. One of the things the USCCB website talks about that Jerry was saying it at the beginning of the show, the fine line between discipline and punishment, and sometimes it's interchangeable, and it shouldn't be because there's a big difference in the whole understanding of discipline and punishment. But we live in a world where things are moving very quickly, and so what happens? We quickly take care of a situation as parents, and it's really a punishment, not a discipline. We're really not disciplining them and letting them understand the like Jerry said, the broader picture of it. Mary, has that been your experience of that? And we've really got to slow down. Then we've got to slow down and intentionally, talk with our children. Go ahead.
Very intentional and very specific and systematic. When you teach character, the weakest form of teaching is punishment. And even at 4, I think children have the ability to stop and to think and to talk about it. But it does take time. And I guess that's one of the benefits of me being a grandmother is, I do have that time. And I've been surprised at how much they can embrace, what healthy means, which is a 4-year-old word for temperance, and to think, prudence. And fortitude, you can do it. And they really do get it instead of having to change a whole discipline system when they get older to teach character. It can begin at a very young age, and it's the same system. And it's found in Scripture and in our catechism. And it's also kind of forgotten knowledge. I don't think people are teaching character using the virtues, and it's a beautiful gift.
Yes. Wow. I love it.
So true. So true. Yeah. Because I think the risk that is run, again, not that every act of discipline on a part of a parent has to be accompanied by, a 30-minute sit down, let's try and, unpack this for you so that you understand it. But Debbie, I think so many times, and this was the case even in my own experience as a child, that sometimes we were punished for whatever, and sometimes you don't know what you did wrong. You don't. Or you don't really understand that it was wrong or how wrong it was. So, in other words, you just come to associate my mother is just going to fly off the handle at some point, and it's unpredictable. You develop insecurities. You don't know, when it's going to come or what the reason for it is. Sometimes that can happen.
And did you find this growing up, Jerry? This is very important. Did you find that all you ever tried to do was avoid the punishment? So you do whatever it takes not to get into that situation. You didn't even know what that situation was, but you knew that there's something bad was going to happen, right?
Yeah, I suppose that was part of it. Yeah. Again,
that's tough though for kids.
Yeah.
Mary,
anything else from Lafayette?
Just, I live in the heart of Catholic country, and it's such a blessing. There's so many holy lay people here. It's a tremendous blessing, and I think that the laity will reform the church, and I love my church, and I'm so proud of its tradition.
Awesome.
Well, we agree, Mary, and that's why we just constantly emphasize the fact that we need to support the family. We need to give the necessary tools and have these great conversations so that everybody can feel confident in the role that they have as parents and grandparents. Mary, thank you so much, and thank you for being you said a moral theology teacher. Thank you so very much for that. That's a very specialized field, and I think it's wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Mary. And you mentioned you live in a very Catholic area, which Lafayette and much of Louisiana certainly is. And that reminds me, Debbie, on Wednesday, for everyone listening, our show is how Catholic is the area where you live. We're going to be talking about that, interestingly enough, because some people live in areas that are 30, 40, 50% Catholic. Some people live in areas that are 2% Catholic. And so we want to talk on Wednesday about how you live your life out as a Catholic Christian in your particular area and how Catholic it is and how much support you get from neighbors, friends, family, coworkers, local businesses, just the culture at large. So that's Wednesday's program. And by the way, just real quick, before we go to Yolanda, I want to mention Amazon Echo because that's one of the many ways you can listen to EWTN Radio. All of the EWTN radio shows are available on audio platforms like the Echo from Amazon. All you have to say is, Alexa, play EWTN Radio. Alexa's pretty smart. She can get right there. And that's another reason that EWTN is everywhere. So get a hold of that Amazon Alexa.
You know, I just had an aha moment. You know how everybody always says, you know, grandparents are so great. They're just wonderful, and everybody loves their grandparents. I just realized it after Mary's call and the other Mary as well. Maybe the reason why we gravitate towards our grandparents is, you know, they do have that time. They can spend that time with us, that quality time with us, whereas parents are always on the go. So maybe this is a good lesson for all of us as parents. We got to slow it down, pull it back, and maybe act more like a grandparent. Right, Jerry?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of parents would love to act more like grandparents.
I know, but we're working, doing everything. Yeah. The lists get bigger.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go to Yolanda next, listening in Anaheim, California, watching actually on Facebook. Hi, Yolanda. Thanks for being with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Yes, hi, good morning. I just want to mention, by the grace of God, my mom never hit me or us. She had 10 kids. She was her discipline to us like, oh, God's watching you. He's not going to like that. Mother Mary's watching you. Your guardian angel. You know, and it was always about heaven. And one time I remember, and this is horrible because I still can see it, when I was 11 years old, this one father, he was like about 5'7", and he would always constantly, we knew, you know, in elementary day, he was always beating up his kids. And one night, like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, when the son grew up to be 6 foot later, he was beating him up, and there was all kinds of blood right there, you know, trail of blood later. So I just think if you do the beating, it's just going to come right back to you. Because like when you get older, and you get sick, you're going to need a glass of water. They're not going to want to bring it to you. When you can't work, and they're not going to want to open your doors. Or when one dies, I don't know if they're going to bring flowers to your grave. You know, if you plant love, you get it back. And then evil is like hitting is like inviting evil and hatred. And I understand that if a daughter gets hit, then later she accepts a husband to hit her.
Right. Well, I'm reminded of a song as you're talking, Yolanda, and I think I have the title of it right. It's by a Christian group. There's actually 3 pastors, and they pastor different churches, Phillips, Craig, and Dean. And the song is, I think it's called I Want to Be Just Like You. And it's a song he's singing to God. They're singing to God, and the lyrics are, I want to be just like you because he, my son, wants to be just like me. See, I want to be just like you because he wants to be just like me. And, you know, like father, like son, like mother, like son, like my, you know, and the point I'm trying to make is, you know, we grow up, we almost worship our parents when we're kids. You know, they walk on water, they can do no wrong. Whatever daddy or mommy does is right, and we want to be like them. You know, we want to be as we grow up, and that's why I think statistics show that a lot of violent criminals, a lot of parents who beat up and abuse their kids, they had the same experience in their own life as well, and that cycle has to be broken at some point. So I think it's so very, very important that parents, Debbie, do follow what the Catechism says and do
exactly
what our callers have said today, and that is discipline out of love and logic, and make sure it's about making them better, not getting out your frustration or your anger as a parent.
The cardinal virtues, I loved that. Absolutely. Yolanda, thank you so much. I mean, you're bringing up so many memories. I worked in the parishes for many years and in liturgy, and I would always stand in the back in the narthex area of the church and kind of circle around during mass times. And I can't tell you how many times I used to see parents literally dragging their little children out to the parking lot or to the restrooms, and it was not a controlled discipline. It was not. It was frustration. They were embarrassed because they had to pull their screaming child out of mass. And I can't tell you how many times I probably overstepped the line, and I would go up to them and I'd say, please, just your children are going to make an association with God. They're going to think that that's how God is. And it's not controlled. It doesn't serve a purpose. And they would ultimately cry. A lot of parents would cry because they were frustrated and they just didn't know how to handle it. And it's unfortunate. We've all been there. But I think conversations like this, and Yolanda, your life experience that you had to share, I think it can really help all of us to understand that our role is to get people closer to God. And how do we do that? We have to be instilling the right things like the cardinal virtues and love, like at the beginning, Nedra saying about instilling that real deep sense of love. That is what our role is, Jerry. So I just want to thank Yolanda again for her great contribution to this conversation.
Yeah. Any other thoughts or words of wisdom, Yolanda, before you go?
If you truly want God present, God is all about love. And don't open the window nor a little draft to evil. And don't be hitting or hating. Be loving and disciplining and teaching them to walk in the lightness instead of the darkness, going towards sainthood. And they'll be showered with graces and blessings.
Amen. Love it. Thank you so much, Yolanda. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Okay, Josephine in Bristol, Pennsylvania called in and was asking for prayers. She might be entering into some financial struggle and is also asking for protection in God's providence. Okay, Josephine, I know you're listening, so please be assured of our prayers. We definitely will storm heaven on your behalf, but also to enlist the saints to help you. Any of your go-to saints, okay? And Josephine, you're named after St. Joseph. Please ask St. Joseph to help you, okay? And also, your guardian angel is with you. You're not alone through this. So you may be entering into financial trouble, but guess what? Your guardian angel is right next to you, helping you and guiding you and guarding you through all of these storms. So take comfort in that, and you'll see yourself get through that. Don't forget, it's Lent. Okay, a lot of crazy things happen during Lent. You got to stay faithful and stay on the mark and on the path. Right, Jerry?
That's right. And we heard from Jane today via email. And anybody, you're welcome to email us anytime during the show or outside of the show. Take 2, the number 2 at EWTN.com. Hi, Jerry and Debbie. I spoke with my 2 boys from my heart. Kids know when they are disappointing their parents. They still know, my goals for them. Their father was more tough, and there could be a minor father wound due to hasty mistakes. When someone else hurt them in life, I asked them, would you rather be the bully or the one being bullied? They always chose never to be the bully. My house was a family of softies, no regrets, smiley face. God bless Jane. So there's Jane's take on parenting.
Beautiful. And Nedra actually emailed us. Nedra, you were thanking us, okay, for praying for your family. We want to thank you. Your call today was very special, and so many folks needed to hear it. So keep on keeping on, okay? You're doing great. Kudos to you, Nedra. You're an incredible mom, and your children are very lucky to have you. Okay.
Yeah, and we just got another email real quick from Anne Marie in Haverhill, Massachusetts, saying that their local abortion mill has been closed officially. So she just wanted the Take 2 family to know that they've been praying and working hard to get that abortion center closed in Haverhill, Mass for quite a while, and it has been officially closed. So that is great news to end today's show on.
Also, too, this came from one of our loyal listeners, suggested the topic, the sin of detraction. The sin of detraction. That's what we'll be covering tomorrow. That's, really intentionally ruining somebody else's reputation. This is a really heavy sin, Jerry, and we need to talk about it on Take 2 on Tuesday's show.
We will do that. Great to have Debbie back, and a good way to start the week off with you and your always great wisdom and takes on the program. Thank you so much. Thanks to the show team, Rich Jesse, Jeff Burson, Ryan Penny screening your calls. Thank you, affiliates, for airing Take 2 with Jerry and Debbie. And until we talk tomorrow with the topic Debbie told you about, have a beautiful and blessed day.